Joining us now is friend of the show, Allie Beth Stuckey. She is the host of Relatable, and it's great to see you.
Great to see you too. Thank you.
All right, so Allie's here to horseshoe people into traditional values, reacting, it seems, to this Elon Musk saga. Let's put this up there on the screen for those who have not yet seen the news. Ashley St. Clair, she's a conservative influencer, I guess you would call, has had claimed now to have had Elon Musk's 13th child. Reveals she sat down for a tabloid interview here, a life of secrecy after a whirlwind romance with a down-to-earth billionaire. What we learn a little bit more from this entire saga is that there's been some disputes between Miss St. Clair, between Elon Musk about paternity, it seems, in terms of his responsibility. And it spawned a lot of discussion online amongst the conservative intelligentsia, I guess, over having a child out of wedlock, about these arrangements for family, and what is the ideal outcome if you want to live a good and a happy life. So let's put her statement here, where she says, 5 months ago, I welcomed a new baby into the world. Elon Musk is the father. I've not previously disclosed this to protect our child's safety and privacy, but in recent days, it's become clear the tabloid media intends to do so regardless of the harm it will cause. Initially, she was saying there it's a tabloid story. However, she did participate later in that report from the New York Post. So, Allie, what do you make of all this as a participant in the discourse?
Yes. Okay. So when I saw this news, I was so shocked by it. I literally woke my husband up out of his slumber, and he was like delirious. He was like, I think I'm dreaming. There's no way that you're telling the truth. And as it started unraveling and we were digging more into it, we realized it is very much true. And I have a lot of conflicting feelings about it. I mean, I know exactly where I stand when it comes to marriage and children and families, formation of families. We need not just more babies, we need actually stable families for society to survive and thrive. And so I know Elon Musk is a part of this like desire to repopulate the earth like Genghis Khan. I think he's even said something like that before.
Yeah.
But we don't just need more babies. We need more stability. And from my understanding, this was the intentional creation of a child that they knew was not going to have a stable two-parent home. And because of that, I couldn't participate in the celebration and the congratulation. It's not that I think that the baby isn't valuable. Of course. The baby is so worthy of love and celebration and all of that. Absolutely. But this seems to be a very sordid and purposeful situation. And I just don't think that I can publicly be a part of celebrating that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and part of, we had a debate internally that I don't think Sagar might be revealing of like, should we cover this? Because does feel like, it's salacious, it's trashy, it's like, it's very personal, all those sorts of things. But to your point, first of all, Elon Musk is one of the most powerful people on the planet at this point. And number two, to your point, it does speak to this like ideology that he has. So I think it is important to dig into it, not to mention I think the legitimate points people have made of like, if this was Barack Obama, people would certainly be covering it.
Totally.
But what did you make of some of the response from the right that was like, oh, she's winning at life, she's secured wealth and good genetics for her baby? That one makes me very, very uncomfortable when you start talking in this language of like, genetics, and that should be the sole goal of procreation, is having like the perfect baby with the perfect genetics. Obviously, that's a dark road to go down. What did you make of some of that reaction?
Yeah, because there were some different motivations behind the celebration. So I have a lot of pro-life, very solid, socially conservative friends who congratulated. And we might disagree on that, but I do not doubt their sincere values. They see it as, I'm just celebrating the existence of a baby, and that's all they're doing. But then there were those, like you said, that were like, who cares? The world needs more babies. This is a good thing. We need more based babies. I saw something like that. God. And so we should just be happy for them. But clearly this is not a happy situation. Yes. That's first of all, like we can see that. We can see that from Ashley's responses. Some of them she deleted. This is actually a very sad, complicated, messy situation. And this little helpless child who didn't consent to any of this is right at the center of it. So I think we should actually be sad that this whole thing happened. But then also, when we look at the conservative values of the right, you made a really good point. If this had been Barack Obama or a number of other kinds of people, no one would be celebrating. We would be calling it degenerate behavior, irresponsible, the problem with society, part of the breakdown of society and the breakdown of the family. But baby mama culture, I guess, is okay when it's Elon Musk. And I just can't get on board with that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, you know, to your point, this is deeply exploitative and sad. So let's put this up there on the screen, you know, what you were talking about for some of their back and their forth. You can see here, she says, Elon, we've been trying to communicate for the past several days. You have not responded. When are you going to reply to us instead of publicly responding to smears from an individual who just posted photos of me in my underwear at age 15 years old? Like you said, she eventually deleted it. But this is not a happy situation. And so I guess like bringing it back and in terms of how we should all look at this arrangement, the eventual sad outcome where you have bickering online, while yes, there's an innocent child in the midst of all of this, and what the cultural takeaway should be in terms of celebration and or using it as a lesson for everybody out there for their personal lives.
Yes. Well, I think that it is an interesting picture at what the right is now, what the Republican Party is now. And we knew that when we kind of grabbed onto the Maha movement, which includes a lot of amazing people that I agree with in a lot of ways, but who are also very socially liberal or moderate, we kind of rearranged the right to be a conglomeration of all different types of fundamental values. Like we agree on important things that won us an election, but we never got down to the basics. I mean, we disagree on fundamental things like the definition of marriage, when life begins, the sanctity of life, if marriage is even necessary, obviously. And so in some ways, I think these debates are productive. I see my role and others like me to be an anchor on the right, to move the Overton window as much as I can, and to hopefully show people that it's not just about having traditional or old values, but doing what works.
Yes.
If we really want society to win, if we want America to be first, we have to have a stable family unit. And we also have to know, in my opinion, where all of that comes from, which is from a creator who created objective universal morality and all of that. I'm a Christian, that's where I stand. But at the very least, just looking at it pragmatically, this kind of sowing your wild oats when you're a 53-year-old going after, I don't want to say going after, but being in a relationship, I guess, with a 26-year-old conservative commentator, it's just not the way to go. If everyone did that, then we would all be in a world of hurt. It would all be a mess. So maybe we should think about what is best, not just for us in the moment, but for society in general as well.
Well
it's interesting you bring up Maha and RFK Jr. because my husband woke me up in the middle of the night when the Olivia Nuzzi RFK Jr. affair came out. And, you know, I mean, one of the questions I have for you is like, has the ship sailed in a sense when Trump himself is how many times divorced and kids with all these different, you know, women, and RFK Jr. is, by his own admission, serial philanderer. You know, the history with him and his ex-wife, who is now deceased, is deeply dark and horrifying. You know, has that ship sort of sailed? And I'm not saying those things were celebrated in the same way. I think that's part of what's different about this particular dynamic. But was the road laid out by celebrating certainly those individuals, even if those particular choices were not part of what was inherently celebrated?
Yeah, I think that's a fair question. But then you also have J.D. Vance, who I think is being heralded as a hero rightly by a lot of conservatives, not only because he's just so strong and he's not afraid to say the truth, but also because of his clear family values, because he is so insanely normal. And it feels like a really long time that we've had a normal young family in the White House or, you know, in DC. And so I think that really Trump and Elon Musk and RFK, they were simply seen as the people who could get it done. And I still have hope that those who have come over to the right and who have changed a lot of their values over the past few years, that they can still change their values even more to come even further over. Because I hear from a lot of these very influential Maha people who tell me privately, you know, I used to be ardently pro-choice and now I'm rethinking that. So I think that there's an opportunity. And I think instead of compromising those of us on the social right over there, we really have to hold the line and be as persuasive as possible.
Yeah. Allie, last question I have for you is, how does this fit in? Like, I feel like, with Trump and with Elon and with RFK Jr., there's like a nexus with sort of like the Andrew Tate version of masculinity. Where, philandering and, getting a lot of women and having like basically a hair, like this is sort of like celebrated as that's part of what makes you an alpha male. The Trump administration is now trying to pressure Romania to like, I don't want to get into that whole thing, but let the Tate brothers off the hook, et cetera. Like, how do you, because I think that's part of what is in tension with the direction you want to push the party in, is that part of that definition of being an alpha and being a male has come along with that view and that approach to women and parenting, et cetera.
Yes. So part of it is true. This kind of masculinity, being tough is masculine. Saying what is true while being unafraid to do so is masculine. Being strong, all of those things are masculine. But what I think is like maybe peak masculinity, or one of the key parts of masculinity, is self-control. And when we have someone like Andrew Tate, who can't even master himself, and yet he is talking about conquering the world by impregnating a bunch of women. Yeah, I mean, every loser forever has done that. But if you can't even control yourself and your own base passions, then you're really no better than an animal. So I understand why parts of Andrew Tate are like, wow, he's really unafraid to speak against feminism. But of course, I mean, he is no better than any, degenerate that has ever lived. And I'm very troubled and very worried about the lionization of someone like Andrew Tate on the right. I see that even growing now. And yeah, that greatly concerns me.
Allie, I respect you so much. I think you're so consistent, and I just always enjoy talking to you. So I really hope that you come back to the show, and it's been great hearing your perspective. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.